Hi all, welcome back to more Red Storm. Dark Blue Defection. This is scenario 6 called Operation Colossus. So, yeah, set this up a couple of days ago and just just can't get that other game started on the table. I've tried a couple of times, just can't get it happening. I guess once I get started. Actually thinking about other things to try and put down the limit, but I want to try and get it going, but we'll see. I just can't get myself motivated. So I'd set this up a couple of days ago, so I thought come up today, have a bit of time. Thought, well, why not get it started? Now, this is probably before you carry on. There's probably not going to be any gameplay at this part by the time I go through everything and just the setup, introduction of it. I'll put a comment of that in the header about it. Just before I get started, there was some comments on the finishing off of part 5, scenario 5, which ended in a bit of a disaster. I've added a comment to the very start of the video series of it in part 1, way back in part 1, just basically saying that I missed that rule all the way through, so yeah. And I've had a couple of comments saying that I'm maybe being a bit hard on myself and it might not have made huge amount of difference, but it's a rule that I missed right from the start, isn't it? And you just don't know. Things could have been totally different. I think when you hit a rule like that and you don't catch it right away, you've got to just sort of say, right, okay. But I still played through the scenario. You've seen how it all works. I'm sure it's useful to people that haven't played, if they can if they can put up with my slow play and the way I do things. I know it doesn't suit everybody. I've seen comments out there about how some people maybe think I go into far too much and it's not necessary. That's fine. I probably agree with them to be honest to some extent, but it's just how I enjoy playing it. And like I said, number one, this is for my enjoyment primarily. If it helps others, that's even better. But it's for me. And you say, well, why do you record that? I don't know. Just started. Enemy Action RDM was the first one. I always wanted to give it a try, and to be honest, it was meant to just show a playthrough and try and get the rules properly. And that's what I do try and do. But it is for my enjoyment. Yeah, definitely. I guess I've seen quite a few videos out there who folk don't care so much about the rules, and that's fine. And if you want to watch them, you get an idea of the game or whatever. That's not for me. I like to get... And here we're talking about a rule that I've missed right through this whole 30 parts of video, which is 30 plus hours, probably closing in on 40 hours maybe. Some of the videos were that long. And missed a rule all the way through it. But anyway. Right, well, I've got the scenario set up, but there's just a couple of comments. This one was from part 28. This is from Hal. He says, amazing, it looks like you may pull this off. This was in part 28. Remember, we had part 30 finished it off. I think this was before even Hal noticed. And again, Hal never mentioned it as well, so my guess is that he's not seen that rule either. And yeah, in fact, does he maybe comment? I don't know. He says, I have got Operation Colossus set up and we'll play it shortly. Well, that's what this is. He says, oh, can you make my die rolls? Yeah, because I was really lucky at the end. He says, you may think about playing the lottery as well. But yeah, I did get really fortunate to get the mother flight out of the situation she was in. Did require a lot of luck. I won't deny that. I mean, we had maybe slightly poorer luck going in to try and take out some of the defences that were there, but after that we rolled like a demon. He says, I don't know if you looked at the 4 horseman scenarios. Well, I haven't, Hal. He says there are close to 25 flights per side. Wow. So close to 100 individual aircraft. Ooh, that could get messy. Yeah, I can't quite Imagine that. I'm trying to. There are close to 25 flights per side. Things. Yeah, my guess is that could be messy, and I don't know if you'd maybe think it was going to use the whole map. This part of the map I was going to leave. It's the same part that we used for the last scenario, but I've just folded. I think it was the top part I folded under because I didn't need that much. I did think about unfolding this half and pushing it up a little bit, but we've just got the orbit points down here, and these are the waypoints, so it's right on the edge of the map, I know, but I mean the scenario does say the full map is in play, so the problem can be any situations where a flight might want to look at an airfield that's down here somewhere could cause me some issues. I think, well, we'll see what happens. If we come to a situation where I might need to look at that. That was Hal's only comment there, and yeah, I think John had actually commented on that part as well, saying it was looking good for a finish. So again, that was, well, no, he would have known about the rule because I posted the question to him on a previous comment to ask if he was aware that I'd been missing that rule, and that's when it clicked with him as well. And he does say on part 29 at the 32-minute mark, he says, "Yep, I've missed this all this time as well, including my 2 plays that have involved night scenarios." So it was this playthrough he done, and RS9 Nighthawks. So is that one? That's one of the main rule ones. Nighthawks is obviously at night as well. So I replied with an ouch. Yeah. Just shows you it can catch us all. I mean, no, what I can say, nobody's picked up on that one. Oh, it was Mike. I got comments from Mike. He tends to not show up here, but he's messaged me on BGG. I will get round to replying to that, Mike. Can't remember what else. Well, I maybe I'll bring it up. Hang on. Yeah, and I apologise to anybody that's maybe just wanting to watch this scenario and not really interested in what's happened before, but I guess most people probably, if they're interested in this, would have watched scenario 5, wouldn't they? Unless they thought me missing that rule was... Well, it's not an awful lot to go through. It's just from previous comments. You know, a couple from part 30 to finish us off. From Hal again. Grant, you're being pretty hard on yourself, I think. It's very unlikely that an not applicable night blunder would have resulted in 8 more points for the Warsaw Pact. Well, yeah, I guess that's maybe true. It's not really that, but that makes me feel that it's a failure. You know, I'm not talking points wise. It's just the fact that the scenario could have went quite differently, I think. I mean, okay, maybe not majorly. If someone wants to go through and look at all the standard air combats, they might be able to compile what would have happened to them, and you never know. It could well be that every one of them came out with the same result. It is possible. Probably unlikely, but it is possible. But anyways, he carries on. "In my book, this was a victory for you." Okay. "I really enjoyed this playthrough, and it was fun to participate in some rule interpretation. You earned the Houdini Award, I believe. Thanks for all your effort, Hal." Well, thanks, Hal, but yeah, I don't feel comfortable about calling it a victory, but it played out, and it was, I still enjoyed the scenario. I don't feel like it did spoil things a little bit, but I still feel like I enjoy myself. I don't feel totally deflated. I mean, I'm here setting up part 6, scenario 6, so we're good. From John, to finish off, for your information, this is the last DBD scenario that I've been able to play. So John hasn't carried on with them all. I thought he maybe done a playthrough of them all. I think he's busy. He's a busy man with family and things, so maybe doesn't get as much gameplay as I fortunately get. He says, hoping to get to 6 and onward sometime, but likely not until short summer off-season for softball. Here's hoping you're able to get it before I do. Well, we're looking at it now, John, so yeah, fingers crossed. And like I say, I just can't get myself motivated to get anything else set up. Well, I've kind of got it set up. I just can't motivate myself to sit and play it. So I'm going to try and force myself, but it's not been easy. The few times I've sat down, I just thought, oh, I just don't feel it. I don't feel it. Anyway, he says, as mentioned in another video's comments, I've only played 2 night scenarios, this and RS9 Nighthawks. So there we go. And yeah. So that's it for that. Just a comment from Mike on BGG. I hope you don't mind me reading these out, Mike, but I don't suppose you do. It's not anything that you wouldn't want to hear, I don't think. So he says, really enjoying all the videos and comments by John Brown are extremely valuable. I was astonished to find out the true meaning of stacking. How did I miss that? Well, that's interesting because, yeah, I was only halfway through that scenario. In fact, I want to say 3/4 of the way through the scenario that it clicked with John's comments regarding stacking. And it is an unfortunate wording, isn't it? Where you get 2 counters in the same hex, but they can be classed as stacking only if they're at the same altitude. If they're not at the same altitude, they're not stacked. And yeah, you can see John mentioned the fact that could that not have been awarded something different, just to make it clear, because I think anybody playing any type of war game with 2 counters in the same hex would probably consider them to be stacked. But anyway, yeah, there you go. And Mike finishes with, how did I miss that? Well, I missed that as well, Mike. Also, the air combat at night, where there is no manoeuvre differential. I must have read this 50 times and still not noticed that. Well, you and me too, Mike. And apparently John Brown as well. So, yeah. So, it's just caught us all out. Like I say, I think maybe because it's got the bit in brackets, I don't know. I mean, why have we all missed that? I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's people that are not watching this that have probably noticed that right away and whatever, but be curious to know. I'm pretty sure there's others out there that probably have missed that rule as well, but that are not participating in any of this. He says he has a solution that he's using now. I use mini fluorescent post-its, 5 centimeters by 1.5 centimeters, where I can make a small note to draw my attention to important points. It means that the rulebook and player aids are not defaced. Yeah, good point, to take away notes of things. I've done that in the past with some things. There was one game in particular, I can't remember what it was, but I always kept forgetting a specific set of rules, a specific action that you were doing. And I eventually found that if I just wrote it down, I could just look at that just to remind myself. It was one of the ones that you kept sort of saying, right, how does that work again? Anyway, good idea. Anyway, back to the game. I would let the result stand as you played it with absolute integrity for both sides. Yeah, when I read that, you've got to remember that when I was missing out manoeuvre rating, when I was putting manoeuvre rating modifiers in, I would have occasionally applied to benefit a Warsaw Pact. I think generally the manoeuvre ratings for our aircraft have been better. So possibly not. But I didn't play it for one side and not the other, if you know what I mean. So anyway. Remember 2 things: you play for enjoyment and you have increased your knowledge of the rules. Indeed, yeah, like I've just mentioned earlier, that's all for my enjoyment here. And yeah, far better versed with the rules than when I first started, but absolutely. Although my memory's not great, so it's easy to forget things that have happened. I say, right, how does that work again? Anyway, John Brown's already mentioned that solo play is the hardest thing to do, so don't despair over an honest error. As you say, nobody has mentioned this in all the feedback. Yeah, that's it. I mean, nobody at all picked it up. So there we are. Jumped back there. He had a follow-up. Yeah, I haven't looked at this. So his follow-up was Dark Blue scenario error, ? He says, hi Grant, part 29, you rolled 4 on the random events resulting in clouds. Please note that you are using the wrong chart. Solo always uses play raid card 5. So this random event is a non-event, in my opinion. Could be wrong though. Well, I understand that play raid card 5, let me just get this out, that play raid card 5 is for the bot. Now, can I just show this like this? I mean, yeah, here's a random bot random event instructions. And I rolled a 4 and I checked this, but I do 3 things. I check the dark blue scenario rules because there's certain events that don't apply. I then check play raid card 2, where is it? Excuse me. I then look at play raid card 2, which is the scenario random events. And, well, I found the weather change one. So if no clouds, roll 1d10 again. And we went through that procedure. Now, my interpretation was that then you would check for any differences on play raid card 5. So I'm looking for 4 here, and I'm not finding it. So I'm thinking, right, it's just as is. Because if you think about it, it's only dealing with a weather change. It's not dealing with a Warsaw Pact side or a NATO side. And that was my interpretation of how these work, that you just check to see if there was any differences to the actual scenario random events when you're playing solo. I suppose you could be right, Mike. You could be right in that the fact that 4 isn't on this, but if you think about it, it's only regarding the weather. Why would that not be? It could be. Maybe they don't want weather involved. I mean, in the dark blues, remember, dark blue defection is different from, this is the main rules play raids we're looking at, but dark blue defection does say in every scenario up to now, you don't roll on the weather table. So, could it be if I looked in the solo rules? Well, why don't you do that, Grant? And see what it says about weather. It could be that it says the same again, and maybe that's why that rule just doesn't apply. Well, looking at the solitaire rules in the main rule book, starts on page 49, but this is a limited solitaire rules. I mean, if I was playing anything, it'd be the full ones. But I just glanced down there that in 33.12 scenario setup sequence, it's got a weather phase and it says no change. So I then turn the page to get the full solitaire rules, and it's got weather phase. Human player places any cloud breaks. That's all it says. So that's just something you would happen. Now, remember, this is the main rules, and the DBD rules just basically say don't roll on the weather table. Don't roll to start with on the weather table. But remember, like I've already said, this play raid card 5, this is not dedicated to DBD. This is for the full rules. And the fact that number 4 is not mentioned there, yeah, it talks about human player placing cloud breaks or whatever it is. I don't know, it makes me wonder. I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't look like Mike is either. He says he could be wrong. But I suppose if we leave that sitting in here, maybe John might apply his thoughts to that one. It could be that I'm doing that wrong and I should just look at play raid card 5 events and ignore any numbers that come up that are not there. I'm not so sure though, Mike. I kind of think that maybe I was doing that way it should be done, but maybe we'll find out. But anyway, thanks for your comments. And yeah, we'll get back. That's everything. So let's get started with a scenario on that. Like I say, this will more than likely contain no gameplay. Just going to run through what's going on here, etc. Right, so NSC6 Operation Colossus. There's the map. Well, I've had that on show for a bit just now. So let's just look at the mission briefing and find out what's all going on here, and then I'll come back to the map and show something. Now, there's limited space. I'm able to get one of the flight log sheets on here. Unfortunately, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got 6 flights. This is our 6th flight here, and the Warsaw Pact only have 3, so they've had to put that on the other play raid card. The other card. There's our 5 first ones, and these are all British flights, by the way. It's all the Brits that are dealing with this scenario. So let's go and have a look at the mission briefing. Yeah, like I say, there's not a great amount of space here, but we'll manage. Yeah, I hate to think about that four horsemen thing when the way Hal was talking about the amount of flights. That's going to be kind of scary. Plus, I'm going to have to print out the stuff for that, am I? So you're going to have flight log sheets to have to print out and everything. Well, that's down the line. We've still got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've still got 5 scenarios here to deal with. So here we go. NSC6 Operation Colossus mission briefing. Fulda Station is an important transport hub of the German railway network in the East Hessian city of Fulda. In times of peace, it is used by about 20,000 travellers each day. Relocated tracks for a high-speed rail network on the north-south line towards Frankfurt went into operation in December 1986. It is a vital supply point for the whole of East Germany and is now under Warsaw Pact control. NATO intelligence has discovered a new Warsaw Pact armoured train, codename Colossus, is now operational and has arrived at Fulda Station. Next stop, Frankfurt. If this train is allowed to reach the outskirts of Frankfurt, it will bring its devastating guns to bear on NATO forces defending the city. It must be destroyed. NATO Air Command has tasked the RAF with a daring daytime raid of Fulda Station. Its mission is to locate and destroy the Colossus before it can depart towards Frankfurt. So, there we go. Yeah, I'll just carry on now rather than showing in the map. Right, so targets. The NATO objective for this mission is to destroy the enemy armoured train, codename Colossus, located at Fulda Station. So it's just a target at the... I thought at first it might move, being a train and whatever, but it's sitting at that station. So, yeah, as far as I'm aware, I never read anything else about it moving or anything like that. That might have been quite interesting though. Might cause a bit more randomness if you had to target it moving. Anyway, that's not the case, I don't believe. So, date 30th of May 1987, time of day 1600, daytime. Okay, so daytime, we're all good. No night rules this time. And yet, they weren't that complex, were they? They weren't really that complicated. The turns were a pain. Some of the detection attempts were hard. It was harder at... yeah, there was quite a few modifiers that did affect it. It was harder to engage, wasn't it? However, but the one that we missed. But anyway. So again, weather clear, do not roll in the weather table, like I say. So that's been the case throughout the scenarios. And the whole map is in play. Right, the front NATO side is on west of 3903 and all the rest of the hexes. So I'll show you that in a second as well. Closed airfields, Gießen, Friedberg, Hanau, Allendorf, Paderborn. Inherent AA, SAM coverage, Warsaw Pact side within 5 hexes of the front. So again, it's the same as the last 2 or 3 scenarios we played. Some of my markers show 7, but it is 5 hexes, so it's all good. And then we'll go into the air unit. So just sort of have a wee look at the maps now. Yeah, so just briefly, there's our target there. It's at Fulda. That hex there, that's the train, if you like. It's actually one of the waypoints as well. The blue waypoints are what our bombers got to follow. And this is blue number 4, but I've just changed it to that yellow cube. Just to show that that's our target, just a reminder. Now, unfortunately, there's 6 different waypaths, routes, just see the wording for that, for the Warsaw Pact flights. So I've just used red dice for them all because, well, it was going to get messy and I've not got any other different coloured dice. So, for instance, this one here is 1. Sorry, hang on. That looks like that's wrong. No, you know what I think it is? I think that's 1, 2, 3, and that one's 1, 2. Well, that one's 1, 2, 3, I think. It's going to be tricky to look at them. I'm going to have to use this. I mean, this would show us the ones that I'm looking at there. What did I say? I was looking at that one in the middle. You can see it's 1, 2, 3. I was right when I eventually realised 1, 2, 3, and the one at the bottom This one here was, like I say, 1, 2, 3. So you're 1, 2, 3. So I might need to look at this at times because, but I think it was really the only way to do it. So, and then the front, just a quick look at the front there. It's there, so it comes down here and along down. So down there. So most of the area is going. We're going to be in Warsaw Pact territory all the way through it. But as you would expect, that's what we're going to do. Then we're going to try and destroy a train that's over their side. So we're going to have the one thing I'm going to keep an eye on better this time, hopefully, is this only stretches in 5 hexes. So from here 5. Well, you know, you've got to look at where it is, but once I get further in, if I'm in here, deeper in here, I won't get that inherent AA. So I'm going to have to remember that. Anyway, right. So back to the NATO, the order of battle. Okay, so we've got UK, we've got one flight, a UK, that's a UK flight, just one flight. There's 4 aircraft in the flight. A Jaguar GR1A. I've got the cards out here, so let's have a look at him. So these are, I want to say these are all new, I think. We did use a British flight before. I'm not sure what one it was. Was it a Harrier maybe? Or Tornado? I don't know. I think we've used one of them before, but I can't recall which one it was. So quick look at that. There's the Jaguar. So they're going to be our bombing mission. And aggression value +3, which is nice. Set up undetected, heading east, adjacent to NATO orbit .1 at low altitude. Bombing flight follows NATO flight plan A within 2 hexes. So, okay, and then we'll look at the next one, because this is quite interesting. This is new. Actually, I need to go and glance at Howard's comments regarding when you start a new scenario, what kind of new rules or things you might need to look at. In fact, I'm going to do that now. Yeah, it is just what we're about to read that is the only sort of new additions. It's laser designation and laser guided bombs. They're the 2 rules that are new, and just what I was about to read there. Because the second flight that's sitting beside the Jaguar, again, one flight, they're UK. They've got 2 aircraft, and they're Buccaneer S2Bs. That's them there. We can see a laser guided bomb there and one. See a laser designator. So my guess is it's something about this flies along and lights up the target or something, and the Jaguar, they can then fire at it, something like that. But carries on. There we go. Laser designation. Aggression value +1. Set up heading undetected east, adjacent to NATO orbit .1 at low altitude. Okay, so I think it's something like that. But obviously the Buccaneer, he's carrying laser guided bombs. The Jaguar's carrying laser guided bombs. Where's the Jaguar? Rooks, there we go. Rooks, laser guided bombs, and he's supported by the Buccaneer. There's he's down the bottom there, and his task is laser designation as well. So it's going to be something like that. I've not looked at the rules for it yet, but so there's our bomber. Our bomber is Rooks. He's the one at the bottom. That's him, and that's the laser designator, the Buccaneer flight. So we've got to follow this. My guess is the Buccaneer's going to be staying close to him. It doesn't restrict him. I don't know what it says under task laser designation. It might well say that it's got to stay beside the bombing flight, which it's obvious you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to keep them kind of together. But the bombing flight needs to stay within 2 hexes of this plan A. So there's from 1 to 2 to 3 to our target 4, and then 5, 6, 7, and then 8. That's us out again. And I'll need to remember this time not to just abort like I did the last time when we finished the bombing run because it had no weapons left. That's not what happens. Abort only happens if you have to jettison your bombs. John had to pick me out on that one, which is fair enough. Right, so that's day 2 to start with. And that's what they've got to do. Like I say, I've not read about the laser designation yet, but yeah, my guess is that it's got to target this first, maybe, and then we can then fire upon it or something. My guess is it might make it a bit more accurate and might give us better modifiers, but who knows? Maybe not. Maybe this is an older thing. It sounds kind of more modern, laser guided, but I could be wrong with that. Okay, so that's day 2. So then we've got 2 flights, UK Harriers with 4 aircraft in each flight. Harrier GR3, and that's these guys here. So this maximum turns, 3 turns, because these can hover and they're like helicopters in a way. Not got a very fast speed, but anyway, so that's them. I've got 2 flights of them, 4 in each flight. Their CAD, aggression value +2, set up undetected heading east to NATO orbit point 2 at low altitude as well. Then we've got 1 flight of UK Tornadoes, 4 aircraft in the flight, F2 Tornado F2A. So that's our fighters. Only 1 flight of them. Okay, and their cap with aggression value +3, set up undetected heading east to NATO orbit point 3 at low altitude. And then finally we've got, it's this one that sets up high, yeah. So 1 flight of UK Falcon 20Fs, only 1 aircraft, but this is you can see it's a jamming flight. So he's a jamming aircraft. They'll try and stop some of the nonsense out there. So he'll just be sitting back. We'll try and make a better job of flying with him. Now that says jamming. Now I know Howard went away and made some alteration when it came up, because I wasn't sure. There's 2 types of jamming, so I think he's altered that. I'll maybe have to go and look just to see if this scenario might be it's standoff jamming and escort jamming, isn't it? My guess is it's probably the same again as standoff, but I'll maybe have a look, because he's got, like, I'll just say on this jamming, but he's amended his, where is it? Where is it? What is it? A Falcon 20F. Oh, it's the one that's on the other thing. That's why I'm not finding it. It's, like I say, couldn't squeeze them all on, so it's here. So it just says jamming, but if you go and look for the new, if you go on BGG and download the files, that's probably been amended to say either standoff or escort jamming. So I'll go and, oops, just knocked the lamp. I'll go and look at that before it comes relevant anyway, just to see. And so they've got aggression value +0, but they're hopefully not getting involved in anything anyway. So set up undetected heading east adjacent to NATO orbit point 3 at high altitude. And then we've got orbit points, and that's where they are. NATO pilot quality. So the Tornado is an ace. Veterans for the Harrier and the Jaguar, regular for the Buccaneer and the Falcon. Okay, so the rest of our flights are, so that was our bombers. That's, what is it, Derby and Goal. So Goal's a Harrier. Yeah, they're the 2 Harriers. So they're a SEAD. They're the ones that are going to hopefully take out. They carry ATCBUs. So they're going to attempt to take out some of the SAMs, 2K22s that are out there. That we'll see in a minute. And then at the back here, our last 2 flights. Lion is our cap mission. He starts off at low as well. And they've got our jamming flight at high, obviously, because, it makes more sense. think they can only do the jamming at medium or high, isn't it? Okay, so that's our side of things. So let's look at the Warsaw Pact. So Warsaw Pact order battle, air setup, air units and markers, set up 2 undetected generic Warsaw Pact flights A and B within 1 hex orbit, point 1. Flight A heading west at low altitude, flight B heading east at low altitude. Set up 2 undetected Warsaw Pact flights C and D. I found a slight discrepancy with these letters. Well, I'll show you in a second once we go over the map. It's difficult to see though, because the RAID planning map is really, really small. I've got to use oh god, the words are deceiving me. A magnifying glass. It's not the best of magnifying glass, to be honest, and I struggle to see it, but I noticed a slight discrepancy, but I've went with what it says here. So carrying on anyway, and I'll show you that in a second. Set up 1 undetected generic Warsaw Pact flight E within 1 hex orbit, point 3, heading south at low altitude. And then over the page, set up 1 undetected generic Warsaw Pact flight F within 1 hex of orbit, point 4, heading northeast at low altitude. And then generic flights A, B, C, D, E, F follow Warsaw Pact flight plans detailed below within 1 hex until activated. Once activated, follow play red card 5 for bot flight instructions, see SSRs for exceptions. It's the same old thing. Just, you know, they all follow a way path and flight plan. I'm trying to look for the right words for all that. Okay, and then if we get a real bot flight, activation check, we roll for this one. Sorry, this is to check if it's a real flight. No, a bot flight activation check. If it's real, that's a different roll. If it's real, we then roll, and they have between a MiG-29. So that's a good one. I think that's one of the ones that doesn't suffer from Soviet doctrine, I think. I might be wrong, but yeah, it's pretty good. We have had that before. In fact, we've had all 3 of these before. I'm sure this was on some of the earlier missions. We've got a MiG-23M, which is cap. Sorry, that MiG-29 they're all cap missions. He's got aggression value 1. MiG-23's got aggression value 0. We've seen him before as well in the last scenario. And there's 4 aircraft in each one of these flights. And then MiG-21 SPS, which we've seen in the previous mission. In fact, I think it's been the last 2 actually. He's got an aggression value of +3 though, so to be kept in mind. So let's just have a glance at where they are then. So there's A and B up there, and this is where there's a slight. You're not going to see this on camera. I can't see it with my eyes, but if you look, there's the 2 flights up there. You might be able to see it. You can see that the one on the left is an A, but the one on the right is a C. So there's focus there. But it does say in the book that A and B are up there beside 4718 hex, orbit point 4718, which is what that is. And it does say A and B down there. So I've went with what's written in the book. It's maybe been a slight misprint. To be honest, the only way it matters is these all have different symbols, and I've actually took a little note this time of the symbols. So we've got A, B, and E are diamonds, C and F are hearts, and D flight is spades. Because when they're on their undetected side, you don't see their suit. So that's flights A and B, and well, that's at least where I've put them. And just going by what's written in the book rather than the planning map. And C and D are down here, but again on the planning map it looks to me like it's B and D. If you look on there, I think it's B on the left and D on the right, maybe. So yeah, it's not a huge big deal, but so I've went with what's written in the book anyway. Okay, and then flight E is at 6617. That's all way up the top there. These are way up the top. and then flight F is down here. That's them all, isn't it? They've got 6. Yeah, they've got 6. So just a glance, let me try and work out. Well, I suppose if I looked, I'm going to have to look at I want to say flight A is going to go 1, 2, 3. And again, they'll just go back and forward if they happen to not do nothing. Flight B is going to go 1, 2, 3. And, well, these down here are a bit different. This one must go 1, 2, 3. This one goes 1, 2, 3. This one goes 1, 2, 3. And the one up the top goes 1, 2, 3. It must be the bottom 3 there. Yeah. So, yeah, I should be able to keep track of that. And we've got the planet map to check if... but there's no other way. That's the best way of doing it is with the dice, I think. I think so. Does make it a bit cluttered, and if we can take some of the dice away at any point, I probably will, because I could just follow it. It's all plotted out on the planet map as well. So, right, let's get down to the ground stuff then, I think. Okay, so ground setup. Nothing that we've not seen before here. So 2 SA-11s at certain hexes set up unlocated with SAM warning markers radar on. This was a bit that I just wasn't sure about. They're unlocated, so I think I want to put the SAM warning markers on top of them. I just couldn't quite remember. It was a wee while ago we done these, but 4 SA-13s located, and that's the infrared ones, remember. And there's 5 2K22s located and their radars turned on. And this one is something we need to remember. The target hex 5132, which is in the folder, which is where the train is. It contains inherent AAA heavy flak. So we're going to have to, no doubt, go right over that hex and have to deal with that. Pilot quality, ace for the MiG-21 SPS, veteran for the MiG-29, regular for the MiG-23. Special scenario rules, nothing new there. We've seen all these before. There's 3 dummies. So they've got 6 flights on the board. 3 of them are going to be dummies, 3 of them are going to be real. We ignore this, and yeah, we've seen all these before. And if you're, new to watching this, then I don't know, read through it. There's nothing new. We'll come to do the rules when we come. I mean, I suppose it'd be better if you want to try and learn it, is probably going back to the first playthrough of this, because I'm learning it myself, so it's probably better to go there first. When they reach the last waypoint, they just turn around and come back. That's the same. Oh yeah, NATO SEAD flights may jettison ordnance and proceed with cap at any time during the scenario. So we did have that once before, so that's something to remember, that they can turn into cap flights, which is good. I've not looked at their sort of weapons wise, but I'm guessing they must have something. Now this is here again. So bot flight target priority for engagement actions is detected good order flights first. So that turned out to be quite an important rule, and I'm not saying you can game things with it, but you can strategically place your aircraft. And it's a wee bit fiddly, because sometimes you actually want your flights detected. I mean, to be honest, it was probably more relevant in the last scenario, because we wanted to protect the helicopter flight that we had. We didn't want anything going for that. It was much better to have anything targeting any of our flights. So it's kind of different here. Well, to an extent, we don't want our bombers getting taken out. We probably don't want the laser designating flight to get taken out either. So we might want to protect them. And we might be able to do that with moving flights in the way and getting closer because of that. But again, it's got to be good order. It will consider them, but it'll prefer good order flights first. Ignore these random events. I think these are all the same, 5, 11 and 14. There might have been some differences previous, but the ones look similar to the last scenario. This scenario ends at the end of turn 14. I've only got a D12 dice there, but we'll wing that. And then at that point roll for recovery for all flights that have not yet recovered. And the scenario, here's the victory conditions. Very similar to what we've had before. Well, obviously different targets this time. So we get 12 for totally destroying Colossus, 9 for heavily damaging it, 6 for slightly damaging it. And these are all the same again. Well, we get 2 for destroying a SAM or AA, and 1 for heavily damaging it. The rest of the stuff about shooting down flights and damaging cripple the same. That looks the same as well. So there we are. Okay. Right, so just having a look at some of the ground targets we've got. SE13 here. There. I think there was 3 of them, was there? Oh, actually, there's another one there, the 4. Oh, we'd have told you on there, Grant. SE13s. Yeah, there's 4 SE13s, so I'll put them out. There's 2 SE11s. Where are they? There's one here. And there's one here. Now, these are unlocated, and I'm wondering if this is where I should put the SAM-1 marker on top of these. I think that's what I want to do. And I've got SAM-1 1 and SAM-1 2. And I'm not sure the relevance to the numbers. I thought they matched up to the letters, but these don't. So I'm sure there's a reason for that. I just can't quite remember what it is. So I think they go on top, basically to say that these are unlocated. We need to locate them now. We can fire on them if we've got the harm missiles. My guess is we've probably not got them. No, I think we've only got ATCBUs, haven't we? Do we not have... Right, hang on. Do we not have anything that can fire at them? I'm guessing not. No, I think we're going to have to get up close and get in at them that way. I think it's just ATCBUs. Anyway, we'll remind ourselves of how that works, but I think these go on top because that signifies these are not located yet. I think. I might brush myself up on the rules. And we've got 2 K22s. We've got 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. So they're all quite close together. Let's say that is our target. And that's it. That's all we need to know. Marked airfields that are closed. There was only one. To be honest, I ran out of airfield closed markers, which is just as well. But there is one more that is closed. I think it's slightly higher up the map, though. It's not on the map as such. But that's fine. I mean, these are all. Well, we need to be. Oh, it needs to be 10 hexes away from our... Yeah, I mean, what's going to be our sort of rally point is probably going to be... it's probably going to be back here at this orbit point, I think. These airfields are closed. So, yeah, if we do need to head to try and recover from disorder, we're going to have to go back to here, I think. So we're probably going to be far away from the action. So we want to try and avoid all that happening. Okay. That's kind of it. We glance at these. There's our flight log sheet of all our flights. Line, that's our tornadoes. They're a cap mission. Harrier, there are 2 Harrier flights, Derby and Goal. ATCBUs. Rooks is our bomber with the laser guided bombs, with the bombing mission. And sorry, yeah, they're the SEAD mission name. And then Fulmar is our laser designation flight. I'll bring the other one down. So then we've got our last flight is, what is it? Winger, the Falcon 20F. He's our jamming flight. No weapons. He's just going to try and stop any of that nonsense. And then the 3 Warsaw Pact flights, Oskin, the MiG-29, so that's a better flight. Fortunately, his aggression is only +1, which is quite good. BVR range is 7 possible. That's a cap flight. MiG-23M does have some BVR capabilities. Orlav, cap mission. Pruis is a MiG-21. It doesn't have BVR, cap mission. So there we go. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, there's the two SE11 and the SE13 car, but we've seen them before as well. So yeah, I'll just need to refresh myself on the SE11. I think, just to remind myself, I did get caught up a bit with unlocated and located and detected and undetected. There's lots of names. That was kind of like catching me out for a while. And my problem is that my memory is not great, and once these things have been and gone, I need to like brush up on them again. And this is where the likes of Mike's idea about jotting a few things down on some wee post-it notes or something, it's probably a good idea. You know, things like that you were struggling with to grasp, just jot them down, and then when you come to the mission again, it's applying again, you've got it written there right in front of you. So. Right, I'll just leave that at that, because that's at 51 minutes. I will put a comment in the header if anyone's not interested in looking at the setup of the scenario. I need to look at it myself, so that's why it's here. But I dare say if anybody's not played the scenario, they maybe want some idea of what's going on, what's involved as well, so it might be useful to you that way. Okay, and I'll be back to start some gameplay. Hopefully I'll go and just brush up on the couple of things that I need to look at. The SE11s again in unlocated status, SAM-1 markers, laser guided bombs, laser designating. And I think everything else. I'll maybe have a little look at the sort of notes to these flights. We've got certain new things, free turn for the Harriers. Some other things maybe. As I mentioned, a recon in the notes for the Jaguar. I don't know if that's relevant, mind you. Laser guided bomb needs laser designated flight. Yeah, well, and that's why we've got laser designated flight there. Yeah, okay. He's got terrain following radar, the laser designator as well, which might be relevant. Okay, right. I'll get away for now, and then I'm going to attempt to again try and do something else. I've got another sort of non-war game I'd like to just mess about with, not to record, but just to lighten things up a little bit as well, because I still do have a little bit time to myself, so maybe do that, or again I'll maybe try and get myself over at that table and get that game started. We shall see. But no doubt I'll be back to another bit of this, because that's me got the setup done, and I'm sure I'll be itching to get on with it and see how we do here. Okay, but I'll be back at some point. Okay, cheers.